Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished cleaning the last observation deck on level 47 of the Kepler research station. The massive space facility orbited the gas giant Nerian Prime, home to some of the galaxy's most magnificent creatures. As the station's head custodian, Marcus had seen many wonders through these transparent aluminum windows, but nothing had prepared him for what he discovered 3 weeks ago. The research station housed specimens from across known space, but the dragon enclosures were the most spectacular. Adult Nerian dragons were creatures of legend, 60-foot wingspans, scales that shimmered like liquid starlight, and intelligence that rivaled any sentient species in the galaxy. The Galactic Council had classified them as semi-sentient, which meant they could be studied but not hunted or enslaved. Dr. Vexter, the Zelithian head researcher, ran a tight operation. The dragon specimens were treated well, housed in enormous biodomes that replicated their natural habitat. Marcus had always admired how the research team maintained perfect environmental conditions for these majestic beings. That morning, while performing his routine cleaning of the service corridors beneath the dragon habitats, Marcus heard something unusual. A soft, distressed chirping echoed from behind a maintenance panel. The sound tugged at his heart. It reminded him of the baby birds he used to rescue back on Earth. Following the sound, Marcus discovered a service tunnel that led to an abandoned storage area. Inside, huddled in a nest of discarded thermal blankets, was the most beautiful creature he had ever seen. A baby dragon no larger than a house cat, with scales that shifted from deep purple to silver in the artificial light. Its eyes were massive pools of liquid gold, filled with fear and confusion. The dragonling was clearly separated from its mother somehow. Its tiny wings fluttered uselessly, too underdeveloped for flight. When it saw Marcus, it didn't flee. Instead, it tilted its small head and made that same chirping sound, almost like a question. Marcus knew he should report this immediately to Dr. Vexter, but something stopped him. The research protocols were strict. Any dragon specimens would be immediately placed in controlled environments for study. This little one looked too young, too fragile for the clinical atmosphere of the main research areas. "Hey there, little guy," Marcus whispered, slowly extending his hand. The dragonling sniffed cautiously, then nuzzled against his palm with surprising warmth. Its scales felt like smooth river stones heated by summer sun. Over the following days, Marcus found himself returning to the hidden storage room during his breaks. He brought food scraps from the cafeteria, protein cubes, fruit, anything he thought might appeal to a growing dragon. The little creature seemed grateful for the company and the meals. What fascinated Marcus most was how intelligent the dragonling appeared. It watched his every movement with those golden eyes, seeming to study him just as intently as he studied it. When Marcus spoke, the creature would tilt its head and chirp in response, almost as if trying to communicate. "You understand me, don't you?" Marcus asked during his third visit. The dragonling made a series of complex chirps and trills, its tiny claws gesturing toward Marcus's mouth when he spoke. "Are you trying to figure out how I make these sounds?" The breakthrough came during his second week of secret visits. Marcus was explaining his daily routine to the dragonling, partly to keep it calm and partly because he enjoyed the company. He worked long shifts and rarely had meaningful conversations with the research staff, who saw him as just another maintenance worker. "So after I finish the observation decks," Marcus was saying, "I have to clean the waste recycling systems. Not glamorous work, but someone has to do it." He paused, watching the dragonling's intense focus on his face. "Do you wish you could talk back?" The dragonling made its usual chirping sound, but then something extraordinary happened. It opened its small mouth and produced a sound that was clearly an attempt at mimicking Marcus's voice. "Mar," it managed, the sound rough but unmistakably trying to say his name. Marcus nearly fell off the supply crate he was sitting on. Did you try to say my name?" The dragonling bobbed its head enthusiastically and repeated the sound. "Marcus." From that moment, Marcus became obsessed with teaching the little dragon to communicate. Every spare moment was spent in that storage room, patiently working on sounds and words. The dragonling proved to be an incredibly fast learner, soaking up vocabulary like a sponge. "Marcus," the dragonling said clearly on the 10th day of lessons, and Marcus felt tears spring to his eyes. "Good," it added, copying a word Marcus used often to praise its progress. "That's right, very good," Marcus laughed, and the Dragonling made a sound that could only be described as laughter in return. As weeks passed, their conversations became more complex. The Dragonling, whom Marcus had started calling Spark because of the way its scales seemed to glow when it was excited, began asking questions about everything. "Why Marcus in dark place?" Spark asked one day, his speech still halting but increasingly clear. "I work here," Marcus explained. "This is my job. I clean things and fix things so the smart people upstairs can do their research." "What research?" The question gave Marcus pause. How could he explain that Spark's own species was being studied? They try to understand how things work, how creatures like you live and think. Spark's golden eyes seemed to grow even more thoughtful. Spark think, Spark understand. Marcus teach Spark words, Spark teach Marcus dragon thoughts. This innocent offer opened up a world Marcus never could have imagined. Spark began sharing insights about dragon culture, their complex social structures, their deep connection to the energy fields that surrounded gas giants like Nerian Prime. The little dragon spoke of music that couldn't be heard with human ears, of ancient migration patterns written in the stars, of bonds between dragon families that stretched across vast distances. "Dragons not just smart," Spark explained one day, his vocabulary now extensive enough for nuanced conversation. "Dragons feel the universe breathing, feel the songs of space itself." Marcus realized he was learning more about dragon civilization in these stolen moments than the research teams had discovered in decades of formal study. But Spark was also learning about human nature, human dreams, and human loneliness. "Marcus lonely," Spark observed with surprising insight. "Marcus take care of everyone, but who take care of Marcus?" The question hit deeper than Marcus expected. He had indeed been lonely, losing himself in work to avoid thinking about his isolation. But Spark's friendship was changing that. "You take care of me now," Marcus replied honestly. "Teaching you has given me something to look forward to every day." Spark happy Marcus not lonely. Dragons understand family bonds. Marcus like packmate to Spark now. As their friendship deepened, Marcus began to notice subtle changes in the station's dragon population. The adult dragons in the research domes seemed more restless than usual. Dr. Vexter had mentioned increased vocalizations during the night shifts, sounds that didn't match any previously recorded dragon communications. Marcus didn't connect this to his secret friendship with Spark until the day everything changed. He was teaching Spark about human art, showing him pictures on his datapad of paintings and sculptures from Earth, when the little dragon suddenly went rigid. "Mother calls," Spark whispered, his eyes wide with something between joy and terror. "Your mother, how do you know?" All young dragons connected to Mother until grown. Spark hear Mother's voice in mind always, but now Mother's voice very close, very strong. Marcus felt his blood go cold. "Spark, we need to talk about something important. The dragons here in the research domes. One of them might be your mother." Spark's small head tilted. "Spark, no. Spark always know Mother nearby." Mother voice sad, angry. Mother thinks Spark gone forever. "Why didn't you tell me?" Marcus good human. Spark not want Marcus in trouble, but Mother growing more sad each day. Soon Mother will do something dangerous to find Spark. Before Marcus could respond, the storage room's hidden entrance burst open. Dr. Vexter stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 security officers. The Zilithians' 4 eyes were wide with shock as they took in the scene. Marcus sitting cross-legged on the floor, a baby dragon perched comfortably on his knee, clearly in the middle of an animated conversation. "Mr. Chen," Dr. Vexter's voice was carefully controlled, "would you care to explain what exactly is happening here?" Marcus felt his world collapsing around him. He was going to lose his job, possibly face criminal charges for interfering with research specimens. But worse, he was going to lose Spark, and Spark was going to lose the first real friend he had ever known. "Dr. Vexter, I can explain." "Marcus not in trouble?" Spark suddenly spoke up, his clear speech shocking the research team into silence. "Spark choose to stay with Marcus. Spark teach Marcus dragon language, Marcus teach Spark human words, this good learning for both species." Dr. Vexter's eye stalks nearly tied themselves in knots. "The specimen can speak fluently." "My name is Spark," the Dragonling said with dignity beyond his apparent age. "I am not specimen. I am young dragon, learning about universe through friendship with good human Marcus." The security officers looked to Dr. Vexter for guidance, but the scientist was clearly struggling to process what he was witnessing. In all their years of research, they had never achieved actual communication with a dragon despite evidence of high intelligence. "How long has this been going on?" Dr. Vexter finally managed. 3 weeks, Marcus admitted. "I found him alone and scared. I was going to report it, but he was so young and I thought he needed care more than study." "Dr. Vexter," Spark interrupted, "Spark requests you listen to important information. Mother Dragon in your research dome is Spark's birth mother. She grows more distressed each day because she cannot find Spark. Soon she will become dangerous to herself and others if not reunited with child." This revelation sent shockwaves through the research team. They had indeed noticed increased agitation among their dragon specimens, particularly the large female they called Subject 7. If Subject 7 was actually a mother separated from her offspring, it explained everything. "You're saying that Subject 7 is your mother?" Dr. Vexter asked. "Her name is Velthara Starwing, keeper of the 7th wind current, daughter of the ancient line of Nerian Prime," Spark replied with formal precision. "She is my mother and she mourns for me." The weight of what they had unknowingly done settled over the research team like a heavy blanket. They had separated a mother from her child, causing immeasurable emotional distress to both creatures. "We need to reunite them immediately," Dr. Vexter decided. "But first, I need to understand how you achieved this level of communication. Our research teams have been trying to establish meaningful contact with dragons for years." "Perhaps," Marcus said quietly, "the problem was approaching them as subjects to be studied rather than individuals to be befriended." Before Dr. Vexter could respond, alarm klaxons began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the storage room in pulsing red light, and the station's AI announced in its calm voice, "Containment breach in Dragon Research Dome 3. All personnel evacuate surrounding areas immediately. This is not a drill." Through the station's hull, they could hear something that chilled them all to the bone. The enraged roar of an adult dragon, followed by the screaming of metal being torn apart. Velthara had reached her breaking point. The containment breach alarm continued to wail as Dr. Vexter frantically activated his communicator. "Emergency response team to Dragon Dome 3, we have a major situation." Through the station's intercom system, they could hear panicked voices reporting the destruction. Velthara had torn through the reinforced barriers of her habitat like they were made of paper. Her massive claws were shredding through the biodome's support structures, and her anguished roars echoed throughout the entire station. "Mother is in great pain," Spark said quietly, his small body trembling. "She thinks Spark is dead. Dragons feel emotions very strongly. When a mother believes her child is gone forever, the grief can drive her to madness." Marcus made a decision that would change everything. "We have to get Spark to his mother right now." "Absolutely not," Dr. Vexter protested. "It's far too dangerous. That creature could kill you both without thinking." "She's not a creature," Marcus said firmly, scooping Spark into his arms. "She's a mother looking for her baby, and I'm going to help them find each other." The security officers moved to block their path, but Spark spoke up with surprising authority. "Stand aside, please. Marcus and Spark must go to Mother before she destroys station trying to find Spark." The sound of another massive impact shook the entire facility. Warning lights flashed as the station's AI reported structural damage to multiple systems. Whatever Velthara was doing in her desperate search was threatening the integrity of the entire research station. "How can we possibly get close to her?" Dr. Vexter asked, his scientific mind warring with his concern for safety. "She's in a complete rage state. Our sedation systems aren't working. She's too large and too agitated." "Dragons recognize family by more than sight," Spark explained, his young voice carrying ancient wisdom. "Mother will smell Spark, hear Spark's voice. Dragon mothers cannot harm their own children, no matter how angry they become. This is fundamental dragon nature." Marcus was already moving toward the door. "I'm not letting that mother suffer anymore. Spark, are you sure about this?" "Yes, Marcus. Spark trusts dragon instincts. Mother will not hurt Spark, and Mother will not hurt Spark's friend." Dr. Vexter followed them into the corridor, his security team trailing behind. "If we're doing this insane plan, we need to do it smart. The direct route to Dome 3 is blocked by debris. We'll have to go through the maintenance tunnels. Marcus knew those tunnels better than anyone. He led the group through a maze of service passages, Spark clutched securely in his arms. The little dragon was making soft, chirping sounds, not distressed calls, but what Marcus had learned were reassurance signals dragons used to comfort each other. Spark calling to Mother, the Dragonling explained, telling Mother that Spark is safe coming home. As they moved through the tunnels, Marcus could hear the destruction getting closer. Metal groaned and sparked as Velthira continued her rampage, searching for any trace of her child. The mother dragon's roars had taken on a different quality now, less rage, more desperate longing. She was calling for Spark in the deep, resonant tones of adult dragon communication. "She's moving toward us," Dr. Vexter observed, tracking the sound. "It's like she can sense him." "Dragon mothers and children share emotional bond across great distances," Spark confirmed. Mother feeling Spark's presence now, Mother hope growing stronger. They reached a maintenance hatch that opened directly into the damaged research dome. Through the transparent aluminum, they could see the extent of Velthara's devastation. The carefully constructed habitat was in ruins, its artificial forests uprooted, and its climate control systems sparking and broken. In the center of the destruction stood Velthara herself, and Marcus had to catch his breath at the sight of her. Even in her anguished state, she was magnificent. Her scales shifted from deep purple to silver just like sparks, but with an iridescent quality that made her seem to glow from within. Her wings were partially spread, easily spanning 50 feet, and her golden eyes were filled with a pain so profound it was almost physical. "Mother," Spark whispered, pressing against the hatch window. Velthara's massive head snapped toward the sound, her acute hearing picking up her child's voice despite the thick barrier between them. Her eyes widened, and she let out a sound Marcus had never heard before, a dragon's cry of pure joy mixed with relief. "She knows you're here," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "Now Mother knows Spark alive, but Mother still need to touch Spark to be sure Spark is real and safe," the Dragonling explained. "Marcus must be brave. Mother will not hurt friend of her child." Dr. Vexter was frantically working on the hatch controls. "The locking mechanism is damaged from the structural impacts. I can override it, but once we open this hatch, there's no going back." "Open it," Marcus said without hesitation. The hatch cycled open with a hiss of equalizing air pressure, and immediately Velthara's presence filled their awareness. She was even more massive up close, her head alone larger than Marcus's entire body. Her golden eyes fixed on Spark with an intensity that spoke of a mother's love transcending species. Spark began making the complex trilling sounds of dragon communication, his small voice carrying a mix of apology and joy. Velthara responded with gentle rumbles that seemed to vibrate through the very air around them. "What are they saying to each other?" Dr. Vexter asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Marcus found himself understanding more than he expected. Weeks of listening to Spark had given him some insight into dragon communication patterns. "Spark is telling her about his time with me. He's explaining that he was lost but safe, that he made a friend who took care of him." Velthara slowly lowered her massive head until she was eye level with Marcus and Spark. Her golden gaze shifted from her child to Marcus, studying the human with careful intensity. When she spoke, her voice was like controlled thunder, each word carefully modulated for human hearing. "You cared for my child," she said, her English heavily accented but clearly understandable. Marcus nearly dropped Spark in shock. "You can speak our language." "Dragons, quick learners," Velthara replied, a hint of what might have been amusement in her deep voice. "Weeks listening, to research staff, picking up words, but never had reason to reveal understanding." Dr. Vexter's 4 eyes were wide with amazement. "You've been able to communicate this entire time." "Why communicate with those who see dragons only as specimens?" Velthara's tone carried a note of reproach. "Your research teams never tried friendship, only study." Marcus stepped forward, still holding Spark but feeling no fear despite Velthara's imposing presence. "I didn't set out to be your son's friend. I saw someone small and scared who needed help." Velthara's great head tilted, studying Marcus with the same intense curiosity that Spark always showed. Human Marcus treated dragon child, as dragon mother would treat lost human young. The question carried profound meaning. Marcus realized that Velthara was asking if he had shown the same instinctive care across species lines that she would have shown to any young creature in need. Yes, Marcus answered simply. Any child deserves protection and kindness, no matter what species they are. Velthara made a sound that was unmistakably approval. She gently extended one massive claw and very carefully touched Marcus's shoulder, a gesture that could have killed him if not performed with perfect control, but which instead felt like a blessing. Spark chose well, in his first friend, she said. Dragon mothers remember such kindness. Spark wriggled in Marcus's arms, and the human carefully set him down. The little dragon immediately ran to his mother, who lowered her head so he could nuzzle against her snout. The reunion was deeply moving, watching the careful way Velthara examined her child to ensure he was unharmed, listening to Spark's excited chatter as he told her about everything he had learned. Mother Marcus teach Spark so many words, and Spark teach Marcus about dragon songs and star paths and family bonds. Good learning, Velthara rumbled approvingly. Knowledge shared makes both species stronger. Dr. Vexter slowly approached, his scientific mind clearly reeling with the implications of what they were witnessing. Velthara, if I may, this changes everything we thought we knew about dragon intelligence and culture. Would you be willing to share more about your people? Dr. Vexter wants to study dragons, Marcus interjected, suddenly protective of his new friends. But not as specimens, as equals who can teach each other. Velthara's golden eyes studied the Zelithian scientist carefully. Your research has caused pain, separation from child, imprisonment in false environment. Why should dragons trust further interaction? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Dr. Vexter visibly struggled with the ethical implications of what their research had unknowingly caused. Because, Dr. Vexter said slowly, we didn't know what we were doing wrong. We genuinely believed we were treating dragon specimens with respect and care. But if dragons are truly sentient beings with families and emotional bonds, then our entire approach has been unconscionable. Spark, tell Mother about Dr. Vexter, the young dragon chimed in. Dr. Vexter not evil, Dr. Vexter just not understand dragon ways. Maybe Dr. Vexter learn better ways. Velthara considered this, her massive head turning to look at the destroyed habitat around them. This dome, prison disguised, as paradise, real respect means freedom to choose. What would you choose? Marcus asked. Dragons choose to return home to Nerian Prime's wind currents, but also choose to maintain contact with humans who show true friendship. She looked directly at Marcus. Spark's human friend, welcome always in dragon territory. The implications of what she was offering struck everyone present. Dragons had never allowed non-dragons into their territories. Their floating cities in the gas giant's upper atmosphere were legendary, but unseen by outsider eyes. You're inviting me to visit your home? Marcus asked, hardly daring to believe it. Human Marcus, part of Spark's family now, dragon families include all who show genuine care for young. Dr. Vexter stepped forward eagerly. What about the research station, the other dragons in our care? Other dragons also have families, waiting for their return, Velthara said pointedly. True research happens through invitation, not imprisonment. But if you all leave, how can we continue learning about dragon culture? Dr. Vexter protested. Spark bounced excitedly between his mother and Marcus. Easy. Spark stay with Marcus sometimes, visit dragon cities sometimes, best of both worlds, and Spark teach other dragons about human friendship, teach other humans about dragon ways. Velthara rumbled what Marcus was learning to recognize as dragon laughter. Child wisdom, often clearer than adult complications. The sound of approaching footsteps made them all turn. Station Commander Williams was striding through the destroyed dome, flanked by security officers and looking decidedly unhappy. The Terran commander's face was grim as he surveyed the damage. Dr. Vexter, I need an immediate explanation for why our most valuable research specimen has destroyed 500,000 credits worth of equipment, and why I'm receiving reports of unauthorized personnel in direct contact with dangerous creatures. Commander Williams, Dr. Vexter began diplomatically, I think you need to understand that our entire classification of these beings has been fundamentally flawed. I don't care about classifications right now. I care about... Commander Williams stopped mid-sentence as Velthara slowly turned to face him. Her golden eyes fixed on the military commander with an intelligence that was unmistakably equal to his own. "Commander Williams," Velthara said in her carefully modulated English, "your station holds prisoners who committed no crimes, this act of justice or conquest." The commander's jaw dropped. In all his years of military service, he had never been directly addressed by what he had been told was a semi-sentient research specimen. "You can speak," he managed. "Dragons always could speak. Your language question is, why would dragons speak to those who cage families, separate children from mothers?" Commander Williams looked around the destroyed habitat, then at Marcus holding the young dragon, then at Dr. Vexter, who was clearly as shaken by recent revelations as he was. "Dr. Vexter, please tell me you have a full report explaining what exactly is happening here." "Commander," Marcus spoke up, surprising himself with his boldness, "the dragons aren't specimens, they're people. Intelligent, emotional people with families and culture and rights. We've been holding them prisoner without trial, separating families, causing psychological trauma." "Mr. Chen, you're a custodian, not an expert on xenobiology or station policy." "Maybe not," Marcus replied, "but I'm an expert on friendship, and I know the difference between a pet and a person." Velthara moved protectively closer to Marcus and Spark. "Human Marcus speaks truth. Dragons remember, kindness and cruelty equally. Station must choose which reputation it wishes to build." The weight of decision settled over Commander Williams like a heavy cloak. The dragons represented years of research investment and potential military applications. But they also represented first contact with a clearly intelligent species that had been unknowingly mistreated. "What exactly are you requesting?" he asked Velthara directly. "Freedom for all dragons, held against their will, establishment of proper diplomatic contact between dragon clans and human governments, recognition that dragon people deserve same respect as any sentient species." "And in exchange?" Velthara's golden eyes gleamed. "Dragons offer knowledge of gas giant navigation, weather pattern prediction, energy field manipulation, but only to humans who prove themselves worthy friends." Spark tugged on Marcus's uniform. "Marcus, mother offering humans great gifts. Dragons know secrets of storm flying and star singing and wind weaving, but only share with true friends, not with captors." Commander Williams realized he was standing at a crossroads that would define humanity's relationship with an entire species. The military applications of dragon knowledge could revolutionize space travel and energy production, but only if humanity could prove itself worthy of dragon trust. "I need to contact Galactic Command," he decided. "This is far above my authority level." "Commander," Dr. Vexter interjected, "while you're making contact with higher authorities, I strongly recommend we begin immediate preparations for releasing the other dragon specimens. I mean, the other dragon individuals, back to their families." "Dr. Vexter correct," Velthara agreed. "Other dragons grow more restless. As they sense freedom approaching, soon all dragons will demand justice, if not given freely." As if to emphasize her point, deep roars echoed from the other research domes. The remaining dragons had heard Velthara's escape and were responding with increasing agitation. Marcus looked down at Spark, who was watching the adult conversation with bright, intelligent eyes. "What do you think, little friend? Are you ready to go home?" Spark excited to show Marcus Dragon home, but also want to keep visiting Human Station, learning new things from Marcus' friends. The innocence of the request, coming from a being who had been unknowingly imprisoned since birth, struck everyone present with its magnanimity. "Your son is remarkable," Marcus told Velthara. "All dragon young, remarkable when given chance to grow with love and learning," she replied. "This lesson humans must understand about all children, all species." Commander Williams activated his communicator. "This is Kepler Station to Galactic Command. We have a Code 7 diplomatic situation requiring immediate high-level intervention. And someone get me the Galactic Council's first contact protocol manual." As the commander began his difficult conversation with distant authorities, Marcus found himself standing between two worlds, human and dragon, serving as an unlikely bridge between species that had never truly understood each other, until a lonely custodian had shown simple kindness to a frightened child. 3 months later, Marcus Chen stood on the observation platform of the newly christened Kepler Diplomatic Station, watching the most spectacular sight he had ever witnessed. 7 adult dragons soared through the upper atmosphere of Nerian Prime, their magnificent forms dancing between the gas giant's swirling storm systems. Leading them was Velthara, her scales catching the light of the distant star in prismatic displays that took his breath away. The transformation of the research station had been remarkable. Following 3 weeks of intense negotiations between the Galactic Council, Human Colonial Administration, and the newly recognized dragon clans of Nerian Prime, the facility had been converted from a research installation into the galaxy's first interspecies cultural exchange center. Dr. Vexter approached Marcus, his 4 eyes bright with excitement. The morning cultural exchange session was extraordinary. Elder Thorvak taught our linguistics team 3 new dragon tonal languages, while our human music specialists introduced the dragons to symphonic composition. The fusion pieces they're creating are unlike anything in known space. Marcus smiled, remembering how different things had been just a few months ago. It's amazing how much can change when you start treating people like people instead of specimens. Indeed, your approach to interspecies relations has been studied and adopted by the Galactic Council as the new standard for first contact protocols. Simple friendship and genuine care for individuals rather than clinical observation of subjects. Through the observation dome, Marcus could see Spark practicing flight maneuvers with 3 other young dragons. The Dragonling had grown considerably in the months since reuniting with his mother, his wings now strong enough for sustained flight. But he still made time to visit Marcus every day, their friendship having become something of a legend throughout the diplomatic community. Marcus, Spark's voice echoed through the station's communication system. The dragons had quickly mastered human technology, integrating it seamlessly with their own bioelectric communication methods. Come see what Spark learned today. Marcus activated his personal flight harness, a piece of dragon-inspired technology that used controlled energy fields to allow humans to navigate the gas giant's atmosphere safely. It had been a gift from Velthara's clan, a gesture of trust that had moved human engineers to tears. Flying out to meet Spark, Marcus marveled at how natural this had become. A few months ago, he had been a lonely custodian scrubbing floors. Now he was humanity's unofficial ambassador to an ancient civilization that lived among the clouds of a distant world. "Look, Marcus," Spark called out, his voice filled with excitement. He was hovering near a formation of crystalline structures that floated in the gas giant's upper atmosphere, a young dragon city in the early stages of growth. Spark helping build new home for interspecies families. The crystal formations were actually living constructs, guided into growth patterns by dragon bioelectric fields. They would eventually become dwelling spaces for the unprecedented community of humans, dragons, and other species who had chosen to live together in this new cultural frontier. "It's beautiful, Spark," Marcus said, genuinely awed by the organic architecture. "Are you happy here?" Spark very happy, best of all worlds, dragon family, human friends learning about whole galaxy. The young dragon performed a graceful loop in the air. "And Marcus, Spark have wonderful surprise." Before Marcus could ask what the surprise might be, he heard a familiar sound, the deep harmonics of adult dragon communication, but with an unusual quality. Looking around, he saw 3 massive shapes approaching through the cloud layers. The lead dragon was Velthara, but she was accompanied by 2 others Marcus had never seen before. One was smaller than Velthara, but with scales that shifted through the entire visible spectrum in complex patterns. The other was ancient beyond measure, its massive form bearing scars that spoke of centuries of experience, its eyes holding depths of wisdom that made Marcus feel very young. "Marcus Chen," Velthara called as they approached. "Please meet Spark's grandmother, Lyrale the Storm Singer, and great-grandfather, Ancient Nethes, keeper of the deep memories." Marcus activated the respectful greeting postures that Spark had taught him, a complex combination of positioning and gentle bioelectric field modulation that his human-made equipment could approximate. "I am honored to meet Spark's family." Lyrale spoke first, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Human Marcus, our family owes you a debt that spans generations. You saved not only our youngest child, but preserved the bloodline of the Stormsinger clan." Ancient Nethes studied Marcus with eyes that seemed to hold the memories of eons. When he spoke, his voice carried harmonics that touched something deep in Marcus's consciousness. Young human, in all my centuries, I have seen many species rise and fall. Most judge others by their own standards, failing to recognize the value in different ways of thinking and being. You saw past species barriers to recognize the personhood of a frightened child. This is the rarest form of wisdom. I just did what felt right, Marcus replied, humbled by the praise. Exactly, Ancient Nethys rumbled with approval. Instinctive compassion is the foundation of all true civilization. This is why the Dragon Council has made an unprecedented decision. Velthara moved closer to Marcus, her golden eyes warm with affection. Marcus Chen, the Dragon clans formally invite you to become the first human to receive the title of Wind Friend. This honor has never been granted to any non-dragon in our history. Marcus felt overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. What does that mean exactly? Spark bounced excitedly in the air around them. Wind Friend means Marcus is honorary dragon, can visit any dragon city, learn any dragon knowledge, participate in clan ceremonies. Also means Marcus family to all dragons forever and always. Lyrelei extended one graceful claw, and Marcus saw that she was holding a crystalline pendant that seemed to capture and reflect the gas giant's swirling lights. This is a wind stone, grown in the heart of Nerian Prime's greatest storm. It will allow you to navigate our cities, communicate across vast distances, and call upon dragon aid anywhere in the galaxy. More than that, Ancient Nethys added, it marks you as one who has proven that friendship can transcend any barrier. Wear it, and dragons throughout the galaxy will know that you are one who chooses understanding over fear, cooperation over dominance. As Marcus accepted the pendant, he felt a strange warmth flow through him. The crystal seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat, and suddenly he could sense the bioelectric fields of all the dragons around him. Their emotions, their ancient songs, their deep connection to the cosmic forces that shaped gas giants, it all became part of his awareness. This is incredible, he whispered. I can feel everything, the storm patterns, the magnetic fields, the way you navigate by reading energy currents. Now Marcus truly understands dragon perspective, Spark said happily. Best part is Windstone also lets Marcus teach dragon perspectives to other humans. Dr. Vexter's voice crackled through Marcus's communicator. Marcus, we're receiving an urgent communication from Galactic Command. They're requesting immediate consultation on a first contact situation in the Andromeda Relay. Apparently, there's a species that's been classified as non-sentient, but some unusual behaviors are making officials reconsider. Marcus looked at Spark, who was practically glowing with excitement. Another species that needs a friend. Spark thinks so, and now Marcus knows how to recognize people who others might not understand. Marcus and Spark make good team for helping confused humans learn about new friends. Velthara rumbled with pride. My child speaks wisely. The galaxy needs more who can see beyond surface differences to recognize the common bonds of consciousness and emotion. Ancient Nethys nodded approvingly. This is how civilizations truly advance, not through conquest or domination, but through the patient work of building bridges between different ways of being. As they flew back toward Kepler Station, Marcus marveled at how completely his life had changed. He had gone from being a lonely maintenance worker to becoming the galaxy's foremost expert on interspecies friendship. But more than that, he had found a family among the stars, Spark, Velthara, and the entire community of dragons who had accepted him as one of their own. Marcus, Spark said as they approached the station's landing platform. Spark wanted to tell Marcus' secret. What secret, little friend? From very beginning when Spark first lost and scared in Dark Place, Spark knew Marcus was special human. Dragons have old stories about Skywalkers, humans who would one day bridge the gap between ground dwellers and cloud dancers. Mother always say stories just legend, but Spark no truth when Spark see it. Marcus felt tears spring to his eyes. You're saying you knew from the first day. Spark know Marcus has heart big enough to hold friendship for whole galaxy. That why Spark not scared of Marcus, even when very little and alone. Velthara glided alongside them, her massive presence a comfort rather than a threat. Dragon children often see truths that adults miss. Spark recognized your nature immediately, just as you recognized his need for protection and companionship. As they landed on the station platform, Marcus was greeted by an unexpected sight. Commander Williams was waiting with a small delegation of Galactic Council representatives, all wearing the formal robes that indicated a ceremonial occasion. "Mr. Chen," Commander Williams said with a smile that was quite different from his previous military sternness, "the Galactic Council would like to offer you a formal position as Director of Interspecies Cultural Relations. It seems your approach to first contact has revolutionized diplomatic protocols across known space." Marcus looked at Spark, who was bouncing with excitement, then at Velthera, whose golden eyes reflected pride and approval. "Can I bring my assistant?" he asked, gesturing to Spark. "Spark want job too?" the young dragon asked eagerly. "Spark can be cultural relations specialist for Dragon Perspectives." One of the council representatives, a being Marcus didn't recognize but who had clearly been briefed on the situation, stepped forward. "Young Spark, the council would be honored to have the first dragon to master human communication serve in such a capacity." Dr. Vexter approached with a datapad full of information. "Marcus, the mission they're asking you to consult on is fascinating. There's a species of crystalline beings in the Andromeda Relay who have been exhibiting complex behavioral patterns that suggest high intelligence, but traditional contact protocols have failed completely. They seem to communicate through harmonic resonance in ways we don't understand. Sounds like they need someone who's learned to listen with more than just their ears," Marcus mused, touching the windstone pendant that now rested against his chest. "And someone who know that different not mean lesser," Spark added wisely, "just mean interesting." Ancient Nethes, who had been quietly observing the ceremony, stepped forward. "Young wind-friend Marcus, accept this calling. The galaxy has too long suffered from the assumption that intelligence must look like the intelligence of those making the assessment. You have learned to recognize consciousness in forms others miss." Marcus looked around at the assembled group, dragons and humans working together, sharing knowledge and building friendship across the vast differences that had once seemed insurmountable. He thought about that first day when he had found a frightened dragonling hiding in a storage room, and how that single moment of choosing compassion over protocol had changed everything. "I accept," he said firmly, "but I have one condition." Commander Williams looked curious. "What condition?" "Any species we encounter gets treated as people first, specimens never. We approach with friendship and respect, not clinical observation and containment." "This approach now official Galactic Council policy," one of the representatives confirmed. "The Chen Protocol, as it's being called, is the new standard for first contact throughout known space." Spark practically exploded with joy, performing aerial loops that would have been impossible for any Earthborn creature. "Marcus famous, but more important, Marcus method helps everyone make friends across galaxy." As the celebration continued around them, Marcus felt Velthara's gentle presence beside him. "What are you thinking, wind-friend Marcus?" "I'm thinking about all the lonely people out there, human, dragon, or otherwise, who just need someone to see them as they really are. Maybe that's what civilization really is, the art of recognizing the personhood in everyone you meet. Dragon wisdom says that universe is vast and full of different ways of being conscious," Velthara replied. "Those who can appreciate this diversity become bridges between worlds." Dr. Vexter approached with final preparations for their departure to the Andromeda Relay. "Marcus, I've been reviewing the data on these crystalline beings. Their communication seems to involve quantum resonance patterns that might actually be similar to how dragons manipulate bioelectric fields." "Then we're taking the right approach," Marcus decided. "Not trying to force them to communicate in ways that make sense to us, but learning to understand communication in ways that make sense to them." "Exactly like Marcus did with Spark," the young dragon agreed. "Marcus listened to dragon ways, not forced dragon to be human ways." As the diplomatic ship prepared for departure, Marcus stood on the observation deck one last time, looking out at the magnificent sight of dragon cities floating in Nerian Prime's atmospheric layers. Somewhere in those crystal spires, dragon children were learning about human art and music, while human researchers were discovering the deep songs that connected dragon consciousness to cosmic forces. It was, he realized, exactly what the universe should be like. Different species not just coexisting, but enriching each other through their diversity. Spark settled on Marcus's shoulder, his warm scales a familiar comfort. "Ready for new adventure, Marcus?" "Ready to make new friends," Marcus corrected gently. Same thing, Spark laughed, the sound carrying harmonics that resonated through the wind stone and filled Marcus's heart with joy. As their ship launched toward the Andromeda Relay, carrying the galaxy's most unlikely but effective diplomatic team, Marcus smiled at the thought that somewhere in the vast cosmos, another species was waiting to discover that the universe was full of friends they hadn't met yet. And he would be there to help them find each other, one act of simple kindness at a time. The stars stretched before them, infinite in their possibilities for connection, understanding, and friendship across the beautiful diversity of consciousness that filled the galaxy. Marcus Chen, former custodian turned wind friend and ambassador, was ready to help clean up the misunderstandings that kept species apart, just as he had always cleaned and cared for things, but now on a galactic scale. After all, whether you were maintaining a space station or maintaining relationships between civilizations, the principle was the same. Approach everything with care, respect, and the understanding that every being you encounter has value beyond your ability to immediately comprehend it.